Hey guys, welcome to video 2 where we are going to get ProfitTrailer up and running. So if you haven't watched video 1 yet where I reviewed the installation of LeonArdo, this evening we're going to do ProfitTrailer. I need to get this back up and running as soon as possible so I can start gaining again. I just redid this machine. It's an old machine that was kicking around. It's an Optiplex 790, one of those little mini Dells. Nothing fancy. It's an i5, 8 gigs of RAM. I just put a 240 gig SSD drive in there for a bit more performance, running Windows 10 64-bit. Not a gaming machine, but nonetheless it works relatively well, and you can run multiple instances of the bots to some degree. I'm hoping through upgrading this particular machine with an SSD that I can run more. I would like to run 2 instances of ProfitTrailer, one trading in BTC and the other trading in ETH, and that's a possibility as well. And we'll get into that more when maybe in a couple weeks. I'm going to start sharing my experiences, things that have worked for me, things that haven't worked for me. So subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and you'll get a chance to see more trading bots. I believe I'm going to do GunBOT and possibly HaasBOT right after that. But this video is for ProfitTrailer. So first things first, you're going to want to come to ProfitTrailer.com. I am not a reseller, so if you reach out to me, I'm not going to take your Bitcoin and give you a license. You need to actually come to ProfitTrailer.com and go to the shop. Choose the exchange that you plan on using ProfitTrailer for. I use pretty well every single one of these exchanges plus some. Right now with each one of my bots, I'm setting them up on separate exchanges so that I can track the profits that they're making. That would be one reason. The second one would be is these bots can consume a fair amount of your Bitcoin relatively quickly, especially if you have things like DCA enabled in ProfitTrailer. And we'll get over that. We'll go over that more in some of the later videos. So it's nice to keep them split up. Yeah, we'll touch on that in a moment. So choose your exchange. With ProfitTrailer, I'm using one of my Bittrex accounts here. Next thing you need to do is you need to come over to the wiki, and they have a getting started here. I'm not going to go through and read this verbatim. You can do that yourself. I've basically pointed where you need to go. We're just gonna touch on the meat and potatoes and actually get it up and running. You need Java. I believe the most recent version is version 9. It doesn't work. They're recommending version 8. I'll put a link to this in the description as well. And Notepad++. You can use Notepad, but I highly recommend Notepad++ for ease of use. It's one of the better editors out there when you're dealing with configurations and stuff. So it's about a 36 meg download. You can get it from here. They have a GitHub page. Download ProfitTrailer. Unfortunately, you don't get the source. I've already taken a look at that. I'm like, oh, that's pretty sweet, but no, that's not the case. That's just a text file that's in there. So once you've downloaded ProfitTrailer, which I've already done, you're going to want to unzip it. You can just kind of drag right with the right click, unzip. Open, and this is where your configurations are going to start occurring. So the first thing you're going to need to edit is your application properties. So coming in here, you're going to want to choose a server port. 8081 is the default. This is perfectly fine. You can use 8081 unless it's being used by something else, or you can change it to 8082 or 8083. If you're running multiple instances of it, you're going to want to have a different port. So one can be 8081, one can be 8082. The server enable config. This is a new version that I just downloaded today. I don't believe that this was actually in the last version I had. I had to add this manually, and this allows you to have the configurations option on the menu when you're running ProfitTrailer. I'll show you that when we open it up. Your trading exchange, you need to use caps. We're using Bittrex, so I'm going to put in Bittrex. If you were using Binance, you'd put in Binance or Poloniex. and your activated API keys. You have a primary and a secondary. So when you get a license, so you're going to pay, you're going to get a license. You need to have Telegram. You're going to activate that license, and it's going to ask you for a default API. So when you're in Bittrex and you set up two APIs, which I'm not going to go over today because this is more or less just me getting this up and running. But if you guys want to see a video on APIs, let me know. We can go through it. But I'm going to assume that most of you know how to set up APIs in your exchanges. So you're going to want to put in your primary, your first API, and your API secret. If you're using Bittrex, you're going to want to write that down the first time you see it. They don't necessarily show you again. In Binance, you can see it again as long as you do a two-factor authentication to validate that you need to see it again. And then your secondary API. And your server time zone offset. So for me, I am -8. So you're just going to make a change. How many days of the log history to show? 8 days is fine. Anything more than that's not really relevant. And Telegram. So this thing's pretty cool. If you have Telegram, like I said, you're going to need it anyways to get your API key activated. But you can set up a bot for your machine, so that every time it does a buy or a sell, it sends you a Telegram message. It's pretty sweet. And when the market goes down and up. So one of the things we're going to look at here when I do a video on more or less the configurations and reviewing the options is you can say if the Bitcoin market drops 10%, stop buying and go into sell only mode. If it comes back up 2%, then start buying again. So like I said, we'll go over that more in some other videos. The only thing that I don't really see in here that you may want to add is server dot site name. We'll call this mean lean. Oh, helps if I can spell, eh? Crypto money making machine. Eh? Why not? So before we can proceed and open this up, I'm going to have to put in my APIs here, so bear with me. I'm just going to put you guys on hold so that you don't see my APIs. Okay. So APIs are in. What I did was I moved the folder into my C drive. I don't like having my desktop cluttered, but it's preference. You don't have to move it into your C drive. So I moved it into my C drive. I filled in my application properties. What you can do from here is you're going to look for the batch file here. It's this one right here. It says run ProfitTrailer. And I'm just going to go create shortcut, and I'm going to drag that over to my desktop because that's really the only thing you need to run once you have your application properties enabled. Everything else, I mean, you can manipulate your configurations and stuff within Notepad++, but with that enabled config, we can do it right within ProfitTrailer. So that's where I'm going to do it. You don't necessarily need to do it here. So now that I've got my shortcut on my desktop, I'm going to run it. I'm going to minimize that. We don't need that open. Actually, we don't even need these open now. This interface here is pretty common with almost all of the trading bots. It'll open up a command prompt. You can minimize that. You don't have to keep it open, but you do need to keep it running. So this is ProfitTrailer by default. It's looking pretty sad today because last week this was about 1,200, and today it's 753. Look at that, Bitcoin's still going down, so it's 750 now. This is the estimated USD value of your current holdings if you were to sell what you have. Now, I know this is a bit low right now because I have some bags that I've been hanging on to for about a month now, and I find that if Bittrex doesn't keep the history for an infinite number of days, right? It's got I think it's a 30-day backlog, and then it wipes out your history. ProfitTrailer looks to Bittrex to get the pricing, and if it doesn't have it, it'll actually bring it over with 0000. And there might be here's an example right here. It doesn't know what was paid for Aeon. Fortunately, I don't pay for Aeon. It was just some mining program that I had tried, and it mined a little bit of Aeon. I just threw it into Bittrex. Just get rid of it. Possible buy logs. I haven't got anything yet because I haven't set up any pairs. This configuration here, this is what I was talking about in the menu. This is where you can come through and enable and disable your pairs and what you want to trade. Right now, it says the market is BTC. If I had a second instance, it would be ETH, and I could run it into another tab right here. All trading pairs enabled is false by default. We wouldn't want to have that enabled to true, because if I came in here and some of my values were null, I suspect that it would try and sell it. I don't know. I've never enabled it when I've had inaccurate pricing in there. Not in this bot. I have in another bot, and it sold it, and I've lost. So I would leave this as false until you're done manipulating your configuration, your pairs, your DCA, your indicators. And like I said, I'm not going to go over that in this particular video. Hot config, this is where you would enable the pricing. So if I wanted to put a price in for Aeon, I would put in, the bot price 0.0000, and we'll say, whatever, 34.20. Oh, dyslexic fingers. I call it my lazy finger. Some people have a lazy eye. I got a lazy finger. So once I've done that, you can come over here, and it should be pretty instant. Once you've saved your configuration file, you should see this bot price update. There we go. So look at that. I went from 0 to 541% profit. Isn't that awesome? There is a way to fix that, but I'm not going to go into that in this video here. Here's my pending log. So a lot of these are bags that I had from last month, experimenting, playing around. The market has taken a real shit kicking right now. So you'll see quite a few where these are negatives. I don't sell at a loss. I know there's quite a few people that do. They will basically dump it and take a loss so that they can take that BTC and they can continue trading with it and make up their losses. I just simply don't sell at a loss. Everything that is on this exchange is being used for these trading bots and these trading bots alone. This is not my long-term holdings. I keep those offline in an offline wallet. This is just the stuff that I'm playing around with ProfitTrailer, and one other bot is using this particular Bittrex account. It's one of the Android-based ones, and I'm working with the developer on that one because that one was buying me crap. Just because it drops in price does not mean I want to buy it. So now they've made it so that it's pair specific. I wouldn't have normally bought in some of this stuff like Can. I mean, look at it, it's down 85% right now. That's just ridiculous. EMC2, that was one of my own mistakes. I threw it in there as a pairing option. Didn't do too well. And it bought Dash when it was relatively high, and when it was going down, it trailed it down and then decided it was a good buy. And unfortunately, it's in this market, it's continued trailing down. So it's going to sit in there until it sells. Or you DCA it. So if you come into your DCA here, you can choose your strategies. You can choose your method. I don't use this method. I'll share my method. I use the Anderson, the double down, and that is where I allow it to purchase additional quantities. So right now, this is just stock. But once I've got this configured, you'll see DCAs here. So I'm going to pump in some more capital here because you can tell that it's gotten fairly low. When I turn this off, this can make like one more buy, and that's just unacceptable. So I'll pump about another $500 in here on the weekend, and and get some of these pendings cleaned up. But what it does is it essentially doubles down on the quantity. So I have, 53 of these vibes. I'll have 106, right? And then it'll double down again based on the percentages that I set up in my pairs, or sorry, my DCA file here. You set up what percentages you want to buy. That allows you, if DCA is dollar cost averaging, I believe, and that allows you to, it allows the bot to sell it sooner. So instead of having to go up 60%, it might have to go up, by the time it's done, 4, 5, 6 DCAs, it might only have to go up 5%. It's a good chance you'll be able to dump it sooner. So it ties up capital, but you can dump it sooner. I would rather do that than take a loss. So that is it pretty well for getting ProfitTrailer up and running. I mean, obviously I didn't show you the installation of Java. I'm going to assume that you know how to install Java and Notepad++. And that's about it. It's fairly straightforward. Telegram, that's probably the most complicated part about the setup, is going to Telegram and actually having them activate your default API. So they have a portable version. If you just go to Telegram, get the portable version, run it. It's going to ask you to punch in a cell phone number. You do that. I'm not gonna do it because I'm not gonna stick my cell phone number out on the internet. But once you do that, you can basically follow the directions on the wiki and activate your default API. You put it into your application configuration that we looked at initially. Once you get this up and running, it should be an accurate display of what is in your Bittrex account at the time. And then you start customizing from there, and we'll go over that in probably video 3. But tonight I just wanted to get ProfitTrailer up and running again. I'm actually going to configure this tonight, and I'll probably record the video. I'm just not going to share it yet. I'll share it in a couple days because I do need to get HaasBOT set up next. So you guys should see HaasBOT coming up here within a couple hours. Anyways, hopefully this helps somebody. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe now. And you will see me going over a lot more bots. So once the initial setups are done, like I said, I'm going to start sharing my experiences, what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me. I have made mistakes and I have lost. ProfitTrailer is actually not too bad in terms of losses. I mean, you'll accumulate bags, but it's not like it actually sells at a loss. I mean, you could force it to, but it's I would almost say it's one of the safest ones out there. I've had some bots where I thought my settings were golden, and it's actually sold at losses, even though I didn't specify that it sold at losses. And I won't talk about those bots. I don't use those ones anymore. Pretty well, if I find a bot that isn't working and I've messed with it for a certain period of time and I just cannot get the thing to make money, I throw it to the side. It's trash. And I won't talk about it. I'm not gonna bad talk anybody. The bots that I am going to show you guys though are the ones that I personally would use, and will continue to use as long as I can and for as long as they're around. And I'll answer any questions you guys have in the comments. Otherwise, I think we're good. All right, catch you in the next video. Bye.